Japan, home of humanity's greatest creations, like anime, para dancing, but most importantly, the home of samurais. They were chill dudes with long blades that somehow always managed to look cool sitting under a cherry blossom tree, but also some of the deadliest forces in history. In fact, they were so deadly that they single-handedly killed for honor. Ever since I've played Hotline Miami games, I've been in the market for other indie games that can convey the same vibes. I found some decent ones and played the hell out of them, but none of them even came close to Katana-Zero, a game inspired by Hotline Miami about a samurai. Not to mention that Katana-Zero was also published by Devolver Digital, the same publisher behind Hotline Miami games. And after playing the game, I can tell you with confidence that Katana-Zero is a retro masterpiece. This is Justin Stander, the face behind the ASCIIsoft Studios and the creator of Katana-Zero. Justin had a very tough time getting to where he is right now. He says it was always his dream to become a game developer. In 2009, he published ASCIIsoft's first game called Tower of Heaven. Now, I tried to play this game myself, but it's not on Steam, and the pirated version also gives an error that apparently no one in the entire universe knows how to fix. I spent a day trying to get it to work, but it just won't, so I had to make do with other people's experience. The game is alright, it looks like I'm playing it on a Game Boy, and the gameplay itself just screams that this is the first time I've published a video game. But it was actually impressive for a first timer. It had a functional gameplay, a retro art style, and even a story. Justin also added a speedrunner mode and a level maker, which just shows how passionate he was to achieve his dream. After Tower of Heaven, Justin developed two more polished games, called Pause Ahead and Overpowered, which were again nothing special but impressive. However, none of these games flew that high. After graduating, Justin wrote to almost every video game company, but none of them wrote back. So he went his own way and lived through absolute hell for 6 years to create Katana-Zero, which is now available on every platform except PlayStation. The very first thing that caught my eye was the beautiful art style of this game. It's got that perfectly detailed pixel art with smooth animations combined with a retro theme that this interviewer almost has a stroke trying to explain.
It's a side scroller with it's very like it has this 2D feel, and it's got this neon kind of vibe to it. I don't want to say cyberpunk. It's like almost like swordplay samurai mixed with cyberpunk, and it just gives you this nostalgic feeling of like you're playing one of those games that like you're used to playing, like Castlevania or something like that, something old school like that.
Bro, chill. Here, have a glass of water. Where I come from, we don't call it the side scroller with 2D feel with neon kind of vibe to it that I don't want to say cyberpunk, but it's almost like swordplay samurai mixed with cyberpunk like you're playing Castlevania. We just call it synthwave, most famously known by a digital car driving towards the sun. Other famous games who also use the synthwave art style are, for example, Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, Cyberpunk, or even Hotline Miami. Funny thing, just like Jonathan and Dennis, the devs of Hotline Miami, Justin also says that his main inspiration for the art style was the movie Drive. Is that a thing? Do men just suddenly get the urge to create a game after watching Drive? The similarities between Katana-Zero and Hotline Miami doesn't end there. Justin says he played Hotline Miami just once and didn't remember the gameplay, which checks out because these two have nothing in common with gameplay, but then he follows it up by saying Hotline Miami may have subconsciously inspired him to make Katana-Zero. Justin.
Don't bullshit a bullshitter.
It's not that you may have subconsciously been inspired by Hotline Miami, you were actually very directly inspired by it. Let me just explain the premise of Katana-Zero without spoiling anything, and you be the judge. Katana-Zero takes place in the fictional city of New Mecca 7 years after their war with fictional forces called Cro-Mags. According to the wiki, the reason behind the New Mecca attacking Cro-Mags is because they believe them to be subhuman. The protagonist of the game doesn't have a full name, he simply goes by the code name Zero. Zero is a war veteran who served with New Mecca and now suffers from PTSD because of it. Zero works for an elite organization that remains in the shadows. We don't know who they are and never truly find out either. Zero's mission is to eliminate specific targets picked by this secret organization to keep them satisfied. Throughout the game, Zero meets a girl who gives his life a purpose. She eventually stays at his house and even cleans up the place. Zero eventually gets to meet someone who's also in the same line of work as him, but this person has different reasons for doing it. I think you get the point. This game takes a lot from Hotline Miami, and there's nothing wrong with it. Actually, I think Katana-Zero does some stuff better than Hotline Miami. I should probably put a disclaimer here. I don't mean to say that Hotline Miami games are bad, they're actually fantastic. I even made 2 whole videos on them, which you should totally watch, just not now. Because if you click off now, YouTube will insta-kill this video. But as much as I love Hotline Miami, I gotta be man enough to admit when 2 of my favorite games are outshined in some instances. For starters, the world of Katana-Zero is a lot more fleshed out and detailed. We get to see different layers of new mecha. The first district, which is where only the rich reside. The second district, where the ordinary live. And the third district, which is for poor citizens and where Zero lives. The locations that you visit throughout the game, the small interactions between characters, even minor enemies, make you paint a picture of how it feels to be living in this fictional city. Very small details that you cannot find in Hotline Miami. When it comes to gameplay, Katana-Zero, just like every other game, has its core mechanics. You can slash enemies, roll dodge, deflect bullets with your katana, and the best part, you can literally slow down time. I think it's a good time to say that every game inspired by Hotline Miami seems to have the ability to slow down time, but Hotline Miami itself. In Hotline Miami, the game was based entirely around the core mechanics, and rarely it also threw in a boss fight. Which, let's be honest, you could learn how to beat them in less than a minute. And though it did have some gameplay variety because of the masks and the characters, they were very minor. But while Katana-Zero bases the game around its core mechanics, it also throws in something new for each level. You get to dodge lasers, sneak past guards without getting detected, find multiple cards to open doors, fight enemies while riding a bike, taking on boss fights that actually take a while to learn how to beat, and the coolest part in my opinion, you get to make choices that somewhat affects the world around you. These choices don't really change the flow of the story or the ending, it more so changes your relationship with other characters. They will remember how you treated them and in future act on it. If you're nice, they will support you, and if you're a jerk, they will turn into horrors beyond comprehension and kill you. I think the best way to describe it is it's like you're trying to get from point A to B, and these choices are different routes. So if you play the game yourself, your experience can be different than mine, but we will both see the same ending. Still, I think these choices make it a lot easier for the player to connect with the protagonist and put themselves in his shoes.
So, tell me again about the men in masks. I see. Then, let's start from the beginning.
Unlike most games, the very first mechanic Katana-Zero teaches the player isn't a basic movement like walking or jumping. Instead, it teaches you to deflect bullets, which sets the pace for the game. Your full name is unknown. You go by the code name Zero, a war veteran who lost his memory because of his injuries. After training for years to become an exceptionally skilled swordsman, Zero currently works for an elite organization as a mercenary, eliminating their targets without asking questions in exchange for a handsome payout. Tonight, your mission is to extract an important scientist and escort them to safety.
Have you arrived? The window of opportunity is closing. You will need to work extremely quickly. The scientist is being held somewhere within the factory. Free him and rendezvous at the extraction point post-haste. Make use of your precognition to eliminate anybody in your way. And remember, leave no survivors.
The dialogue choices in Katana-Zero have an interesting mechanic that I personally haven't seen before. You can respond to everything very fast and aggressively, or be patient and give more appropriate responses. I was very patient the entire game because the TikTok attention span disease hasn't caught me yet. But the last interaction could also go like this.
The scientist is being held.
Get on with it.
Free him and rendezvous.
Get on with it. So the game actually acknowledges if you care about the story or just want to skip to gameplay. Before each level, Zero puts on his hands-free and plays the level's music. So I guess the music in Katana-Zero is canon? Just like the phone call said, Zero uses his precognition abilities throughout the game. Basically, Zero's perception of time is different. He can foresee as many possible futures as he wants to find the one in which he makes it and then act on it. Like that weird movie where Nick Cage tries to rizz up a girl.
Who the hell are you? I'm her future.
Really?
Incoming.
So your actual gameplay is just Zero's planning. When Zero dies, he says, no, that won't work. Which makes him go back to see another future. When he does find the correct one, he says, yes, that should work. And you get to see a tape recorded by the security cameras of your gameplay, which is canonically how the level went. And also, I'm quoting Justin by the way, the tape is for you to see how cool you are. Throughout the planning, you can use Zero's second ability to slow down gameplay time, but in actuality, you're processing everything faster than everyone else. You can get through the game without using it, but just a bit of a friendly advice, if you want to remember this game as a good experience, and not spend time writing a 6-paragraph long post on Reddit about how much this game sucks while eating copium, just use it. It makes life a lot easier. The environment in Katana-Zero is more your friend than your enemy. You can use doors to insta-kill targets and throw items lying around. You can even turn the enemy traps like the lasers against them sometimes. You can also pet cats. 10 out of 10, must play. But despite all the advantages you have, you don't have any room for mistake, because just like the enemies, you also go down in one hit. The sound of Zero dying is permanently carved into my brain from how many times I've heard it. You can find the scientist on the top floor. When you wake him up, his health bar appears. Are you serious, dude? Escort missions? 0 out of 10. Do not play. I mean, come on. When have escort missions been fun? They just slow you down and make you hate the game even more than you. The mission was a failure, but there was nothing you could do. Zero goes back to his tiny house in the 3rd district. That's like what you can get with $10 billion a month in New York. The room on the left is always packed with partying people, and the room on the right is always empty. Zero drinks his herbal tea and turns on the TV. The news covers your actions and will update based on your choices throughout the level, which I think is pretty cool, but apparently Zero doesn't because he passes out. We cut to a little boy that looks like Zero playing with the shadow figure of a little girl in what seems to be a dream state. It was a nightmare, but it wasn't something new. Zero has been experiencing nightmares every night ever since he was injured in the war.
Please, come in and take a seat.
Every night, Zero goes to his therapy sessions with the psychiatrist. He is Zero's connection with the organization he kills for. On surface, his job is to rehabilitate Zero and help him with his mental struggles, but in depth, he controls Zero's missions by giving him intel, checking in with him, and paying him if he was successful.
You look well, despite last night's circumstances. Shall we begin?
Your relationship with the psychiatrist is more professional than personal, and it's hard for you to trust him as a friend and open up. So it's understandable if you just cut him off and ask for payment instantly. But if you listen to him, Zero comes in terms with his nightmares a lot easier. The psychiatrist suggests that the shadow monster was most likely just a scientist, heading towards the machine he wanted to operate. He most likely didn't want to harm him, and Zero shouldn't be afraid.
Our time is up. Let me get your files.
Bro, what do you mean our time is up? I walked in and out of this place in 1 minute, and I'm paying for these sessions by killing people. When I said the psychiatrist pays Zero for his assassinations, I didn't mean with money. He pays Zero with a special type of drug. We don't know much about it yet, except that Zero is very dependent on it. So much that he needs a dose every day.
Josh Rose, well-regarded tech billionaire and philanthropist, chairman of the New Mecca Foundation for Post-War Reconstruction, clandestine involvement in the movement of material and war drugs, heavily guarded, exercise caution.
You arrive at the hotel that Josh is staying in, which is called the Murder Tower. You try your best to get past the reception without drawing any attention.
Hello there, can I help you? Wow, that's such an interesting outfit.
The receptionist of the hotel is a minor side character, but your interactions with her actually have consequences. She's very nice, I don't know why you want to be mean to her, but if you are, she will sell you out later on. Instead, if you get on her good side, she will defend you and you can actually skip the last part of this level.
Oh, I love anime. Who are you supposed to be?
Here's something funny. Zero says that he's supposed to be Shinju Sakamura from the anime X vs X Sakura Redux 2. I looked up this anime and it's not real. So I thought he was just making up an anime that doesn't exist to not look suspicious, because the receptionist seems to know a lot about animes and she says she never heard of it. But later on in the game, people actually recognize that Zero looks like this Shinju character from the anime. So did Zero actually dress up as an anime character every day? At the very beginning of the level, you get spotted and the guards call it in as the dragon being there, which sets everyone on alarm. Throughout cleaning them up, you come across two guards debating whether you, the dragon, can beat someone called Strong Terry. Who is a Strong Terry? He is an ancient entity sent by gods to prevent the chosen one from reaching his ultimate goal. Just kidding, it's this guy. You can find Josh Rose on top of the hotel, smoking on a balcony. He isn't concerned that he's about to die, but that you are the one sent to kill him. He was expecting someone else and is shocked that there's more than one of your kind left. If you're patient and ask him for his last words, he says that he regrets causing so much pain through you. Despite the fact that you didn't know who Josh was, your conversation with him suggests that at some point you may have known him or even worked for him. You can actually skip this entire conversation if you kill Josh with a throwable before talking to him. If you do, you'll find one of the 5 keycards on his body, which you can use to unlock different types of blades, like the one that shoots a beam when charged, or the one that emits fire, or the one that makes blood colorful. On your way to the exit, you're stopped by police because there was reported gunshots in this building. If you were a jerk to the receptionist, she sells you out on the cops and you have to fight your way out. But if you were a gentleman like me, she covers up for you and you get to walk out.
Have a good day, Shinju.
Your employer is pleased with your results. Go home and rest. You'll receive your new assignment tomorrow.
Zero returns to his apartment to get some rest when suddenly he meets someone.
Oof! Hey, watch where you are going. I don't know you. Are you that really noisy neighbor? Oh, well, they are the worst. I live at the end of the hall. about you? Oh, that dumpy place. Well, I guess we are neighbors then. Well, this has been boring by neighbor.
The little girl is a key character in this story, but the game doesn't tell you much about her. She's Zero's neighbor and over the course of the story develops some kind of friendship with him. She's the first person that Zero has any care for without them being related to his missions, despite the fact that he never gets to know much about her life. She mentions that she lives at the end of the hallway, but unlike Zero's nosy neighbors, you never get to see her living in that room. Zero has another nightmare, but this time it's a bit more visible. The monster we saw last night didn't exist. It was a scientist who said gibberish and then was shot by someone who then shot Zero.
Please come in and take a seat.
Today, the psychiatrist is concerned with Zero's nightmares and wants to know more about them. He suggests that the scientist was trying to warn Zero about the intruder before he was killed.
You know, these dreams may be rooted in a traumatic memory from before your injury.
The psychiatrist tells Zero about the injury he suffered during the war and tells him that the service medal he carries is a reminder of his sacrifices and a link to his past life. He changes the topic to Zero's personal life, where Zero brings up that he has met a girl last night. The psychiatrist thinks that Zero is actually dating someone now. When Zero corrects him, he doesn't really buy it.
You met a child in the 3rd district? How strange.
The 3rd district, where Zero lives, isn't a place for children because of the high crime rate and the horrible living conditions. People there barely get by. Regardless, the psychiatrist doesn't think much of it.
This has been a productive session. We will continue tomorrow. DJ Electrohead, popular DJ for the upscale 2nd district, involved in the trafficking of club drugs. Lightly guarded but surrounded by clubgoers. Extreme finesse is required to eliminate without detection. Pathological liar. Do not speak to him.
At Club Neon, you have to sneak past the guards without getting detected. They won't be able to hear you because of the loud music, so you just gotta avoid getting seen by hiding in the crowd. At this point, I realized that some of the details the psychiatrist gives you are just straight up false information. He told me that the target was lightly guarded, and boy, this guy was not lightly guarded.
Do not talk to Electrohead. Do not talk to Electrohead.
Are you, real? Oh, go, you are real. Okay, man, let's stay cool here. I'll give it all back. If the shit I found was yours, oh god, I can give it back after the show. Please don't hurt me. Your shit, man, the drugs. I only tried it once, at the party. I swear. It was wild. Felt like time was slowing down. Repeating. Been seeing crazy shit ever since. I give it all back though. Are you sure you're real? I mean, it's still in your storage unit. I didn't steal anything, man. I bought the whole unit in an auction. They said the owner was dead. I don't know what it's called. It was in an unlabeled bottle. Wait, you don't even know its name. Who the f are you, man? Dude, my boys are gonna f you up so hard. You're f***ing dead. Oh, go f. Don't hurt me, bro. Look, man, let's make a deal. I'll cut you some of the drugs if you let me go. I'll do anything, please.
It's an interesting offer. Electrohead could just be using his pathological lying skills to buy himself some time. But if he is, he's way too accurate. Electrohead apparently stole some drugs that belong to Zero, or at least to someone like him. The drug made time slow down for him, same as Zero's powers. Could it be the same drug that the psychiatrist injects Zero with every day? Do Zero's powers come from the drug? I chose to take the deal.
Cool, dude. Okay,
It's him, the same guy who blew up the scientist's head at the factory. Either his goals are tangled up with you, or he's following you around. Your cover is already blown, so there's no point in sneaking out.
Our employers are not aware of the circumstances behind Electrohead's death. I am. You have been negligent in your duties. Future deviance from instruction will be met with strict discipline.
Zero returns to his apartment to get some rest when he meets the little girl again.
There you are.
She's been sitting here, waiting for him.
Now, spit it out. Where are you hiding, Leviathan?
The little girl says that Leviathan, the pair to her toy, Behemoth, is in your apartment for some reason, and she wants to come in the house to find it. At first, I didn't want to let her in. I mean, first of all, why would I want your toy? I'm a serial killer. And what if your parents who don't even know me show up and find you in my house?
What's going on?
But still, look at her. Can you really say no?
What a dump. No wonder you didn't want me to come in.
You know what? On second thought, get out of my house. She gives you Behemoth and tells you it glows more the closer it is to Leviathan. And with a little search, you can find Leviathan under your couch. Zero doesn't recognize the toy. He doesn't know how it got in his house. The little girl lets Zero keep Leviathan for now and leaves. Why don't you get in my house then? To give it back to me? Zero is having another nightmare. It's again more detailed than the last one. This time, the scientist warns Zero to hide before getting shot, and the intruder throws the little girl into the machine, which turns her into the Leviathan toy, and at the end, he shoots Zero.
Please, come in and take a seat.
The psychiatrist confronts Zero about his last mission. He knows Electrohead was shot, but doesn't know the detail of how it went down. So he assumes you used the gun. When I told him Electrohead was killed before I could get to him, he was just as confused as I was. He wasn't expecting anyone else to want him dead. He tells Zero to not leave his house to go anywhere except to visit him or for his missions. At this point, I was getting fed up from how much the psychiatrist is keeping Zero in the shadows. So I confronted him about why he didn't want me to talk to Electrohead. His excuse was that Electrohead was a drug dealer and he just didn't want to expose me to his influences, which I didn't buy. What are you gonna do if I snore some candy in my apartment, I called his BS and confronted him about the similarity between Electrohead's drugs with the one he gives me. The psychiatrist tells Zero that it's possible Electrohead did have some of my drug, and that was exactly why I was sent to kill him, because our mission is to stop the drug from getting into the wrong hands. Then he tells Zero that the real reason he didn't want him to talk to Electrohead was because our employers don't want to expose Zero to anything that could potentially compromise our goals. So we are the good guys, right? There's a drug out there that does some weird stuff. The boys upstairs want it gone, so they inject a war veteran with the same drug before sending him out there to kill the dealers. Great, nothing suspicious at all. The psychiatrist closes off by telling Zero that as a veteran, he must know that he shouldn't really expect to receive full details of the mission and just get it done without asking questions. And what is this mission? To end illegal drug trafficking in the 3rd district. And once we're done, Zero can return to a normal life. Wait, hold on. Did he just say 3rd district? I was literally just in 2nd district to kill Electrohead. Are you even trying, dude? If you push the psychiatrist a little more, he reveals that Zero's precognition ability is a side effect of the drug, which is why we can't allow others to use it. So Electrohead wasn't lying. He did have some of this drug, and that's why time was slowing down and repeating for him. Everything about this situation is shady, but we don't have any solid evidence to confront the psychiatrist, so we're just gonna have to buy it.
There is one last matter we need to speak about before you leave. The media has taken to calling you the Dragon. An impressive moniker, but your work has become too visible. Please exercise greater discretion in the future. You may leave now. Fa Yun, political dissident and leaker of scheduled to testify in military tribunal. Target must be eliminated post-haste. Collateral damage is unacceptable. Stealth and covert action are necessary to prevent additional loss of life.
In the prison, Zero gets a call from the psychiatrist who wants to remind him to not kill anyone but Fa Yuan. This level is the only part of the game that you can stealth. You need to make sure that the guards don't hear your footsteps. The guards are already dead. Someone had the same idea and they got here before you. You'll find your target, Fa Yuan, dead in his cell. He was drowned in his toilet. I guess he didn't like the prison Chardonnay.
But it was Chardonnay. The best Chardonnay I'd ever had in my life. The man who made it, Curtis Murder Dog Williams, went on to become one of America's most celebrated vintners.
Hey, Joe here. Peter's lying. He drank pee-pee.
The police surround the prison. They're here for the dragon. You can slash your way out, or you can be like me. Silent as a shadow. I snuck past the guards and left the prison without getting detected. It only took me 239 tries, but I did it. Something interesting is that you don't get to see the camera tapes in this mission. It always just says video feed lost, like someone took the tapes out in the security room before you got here. Before we go on, you should know that there is an alternative version of this mission. If you weren't nice to the psychiatrist until this point in the story, he won't even go through the mission briefing with you. He will just tell you to f off, and the mission briefing will just ask you to just kill. And at the beginning, the call you get is instead from someone talking in this Shakespeare type of language that actually asks you to kill everyone. You'll know who he is, just not yet. Be patient, okay?
Our employers believe your exemplary performance warrants commendation. Of note is your effort to reduce collateral damage via stealth. Good work. Go home and rest.
On his way back home, Zero comes across a war veteran hobo asking for some change, but ignores him. He gets pissed off and demands some change. Be careful there, bud. I heard there's a man with a rooster mask that personally would not let that slide. Zero tells him that he served in the war too, but the hobo doesn't believe him. Zero gets fed up and gets a few choices, but no matter which one I chose, the game always automatically picked the choice to kill him. At first, I didn't really get why this part was even in the game, until my second run where I did kill all the cops in the prison, and this time you actually do get the choice to spare him. I think this part was put in the game to show that the special drug was designed to make people want to kill, and if Zero doesn't satisfy that need by killing the cops, he will by killing the hobo. Zero returns to his apartment, but before going in, the little girl tells him that someone gave her a tape to give to him. Then she asked me to come in and watch the tape with me. Look, I get it, I don't know what's in the tape and I shouldn't really let her in. But like, she was waiting all this time for me and I just can't, man. Just look at her, she's so cute, so cute. The tape shows Zero's neighbors who got an entire farm just out of view for us to see normally. The two get scared, thinking it might be cops, but it can also be the pizza guy, huh? It's the same guy who shot Electrohead, and it doesn't look like he's there for a friendly talk. Zero turns off the TV before it gets out of control to stop the girl from watching. She's still a little shaky, so she goes back to her own room. The guy starts torturing the two mercilessly and eventually injects them with the same special drug Zero is taking. He tells them that time will be coming to a crawl for them soon. He's here because they are noisy neighbors to Zero, and Zero can't get a wink of sleep because of them. From his tone, it seems like he's obsessed with Zero, because we already saw that he knows where Zero lives and he also knows that he's a serial killer. Zero had another nightmare. It looks a lot different from last night. The little girl doesn't exist anymore. It's just Zero playing with Leviathan, and the intruder starts operating the machine before everything blows up. Zero goes to his therapy session, but the office is closed and all of the appointments were rescheduled for tomorrow, so he heads back home.
I saw you walking in the rain and figured you could use a lift.
It's the same guy who killed your neighbors. His name is Wee. Wee is a sadistic rich Russian gangster that works for another unknown organization. He takes a liking to the dragon, which he believes to be Zero. And in his spare time, he likes to make snuff films. Time flies by, you know. Back in my day, when we had some free time, we used to grab a drink or play some video games. Now, people just make snuff films. This guy seems to be obsessed with Zero rather than going against him. He wanted Zero to kill his guys at the factory to get a kick out of it. He still doesn't understand Zero entirely though. He seems to think that Zero is a serial killer that likes torturing and killing his victims. He sent that tape of his to his house to impress him, which didn't work. He mentions that he and his men are working on this wartime drug, which is most likely the same war drug given to Zero, since we already saw him use it on the neighbors. If so, then it means that this drug was used in the war against the Chromac forces. With Zero being a war veteran who regularly needs this drug, could it mean that new mecha soldiers were hooked up with it to have the advantage? V offers Zero some of that summer snow. Nah, I'm kidding, I didn't take his offer. He asks Zero for his blade to cut some lines, which I declined. Who the hell would do it with a samurai sword anyways? Do you have any idea how hard it would be? Since I didn't give him my sword, he kindly asks one of the ladies to give him a razor. He tells Zero that he has cameras in Studio 51 and they should go over there and remake the Funky Town video with these girls. I turned down the offer, which made him say I owed him because he took care of my noisy neighbors, and it prompted Zero to say, "You are f***ing subhuman." He starts to really freak out and insults Zero.
F*** off, Snow. He wasn't interested. He turned it down and got away, alright? F*** off! Whatever, Snow, I'm busy.
Zero followed V to the studio after he kicked him out. V isn't so kind this time and tries to finish Zero. I like how Zero is fast enough to deflect a bullet but not dodge a punch. Zero chases V into the studio, and there's a cool detail about this level. If you do give your katana to V in the limo, you won't have it at the start. You have to first get it back from V. Zero has to go through 3 floors and collect 3 keycards to open this door. I get that it's just gameplay, but what studio has a door that needs 3 keycards to open? What do they keep in theaters? Nuclear warheads? I honestly thought that the gameplay diversity would peak in this level, because in one of the floors you get to ride a cart and have to protect it. But that's the only fun part. The other 2 floors are just ordinary. Well, they each have an Easter egg. There's a robot in one of them that speaks binary, and if you translate it, you get the message, "Sorry, no Easter egg." Very funny. And the other floor has a character called the Covenhead, who is obviously referencing my landlord trying to collect my rent.
Give me rent.
Once you open the door, you make your way to V.
He just arrived. Yeah, he's alone. Get over here. I don't want to stay in my fresh tracksuit. Get out. This is business. Well, let's do this.
Oh come on, that was just cheap. Beating V isn't hard, you just have to get behind him and slash. But even if you don't beat him, the fight would just end at a timer with Zero winning.
Is this all? What a waste. Shinkagoryu's school. I've never approved of your pet projects. Go home and forget all about this. This is your only warning. Your stance is sloppy. I'll expect more from you next time.
The samurai you saw is Snow, a calm and determined assassin, working for the same organization as V. She is just as skilled, if not even better than Zero, though she doesn't wish to harm him unless he interrupts her mission. It's unknown whether she uses the same drug as Zero does, but from her fast reactions, it's possible that she does. With Snow and V gone, Zero's only option is to go home and prepare for their next encounter.
I'm sorry, I wasn't in the office today. I've rescheduled your appointment for tomorrow. I hope you had a relaxing night.
Back in the apartment, Zero goes through his standard night routine, drinking his herbal tea and going to bed. Who could it be this late at night? Could it be assassins? Has Zero's location been compromised? Are the consequences of his actions finally catching up to him?
Trick or treat!
Ah, it's just a little girl, never mind. Who has dressed up like you for Halloween, and she asks for some candy. There are different types of candy which you can find based on what part of the house you search. There's a butterscotch under the couch and chocolate sticks in the cupboard. You can also give her a fish head if you search the fridge. She wishes you and Leviathan a happy Halloween and leaves.
Behold comedy, the favorite swordsman waketh from poisoned slumber.
Tragedy and I drug your tea. You don't even know, dimwit.
The two figures tell Zero that he must prepare himself to make a very important choice in 3 days between life or death, and whichever he picks, they will take the other one away, and then leave. These two are called Tragedy and Comedy. They only exist with each other and almost always appear together. Tragedy seems to be very gathered and sophisticated. He speaks in a deep and ancient version of English, while Comedy jokes a lot more and speaks the modern version of English. These two characters would go on to cause so much debate in the community of the game. Some believe that they don't actually exist, and they are just metaphorically present to communicate with Zero, since they can literally teleport and later even show supernatural powers. Others believe that they must be real because they interact with a lot of real objects. Tragedy was the guy sitting at the Murderer Tower. He was also the one who called Zero in the alternative version of the prison mission. Him and Comedy also drugged Zero's tea, and in future they leave him a note. Based on their appearance, they could be scientists who use the same drug as Zero, and with their precognition catch him off guard. These two are not the only unsolved parts of the game. There are lots of characters and parts in the timeline that remain a mystery which the community couldn't 100% solve yet. And the reason for that is Katana-Zero's story isn't 100% complete. The game leaves a lot of empty holes because it has a planned upcoming DLC, which at this point became a meme because of how long it's taking. The DLC was announced just 1 week after the game's release, and Justin keeps expanding its size, so all we got after 5 years are 2 songs, a gameplay trailer that shows Zero in a new mecha government lab, a teaser that's about 2 soldiers called 9 and 2 that appear to be waiting for someone's arrival, and another teaser which shows a lot of experimental chambers with subjects in them. The fans believe that the DLC will answer all of our questions, but without it, there just isn't enough evidence for a definitive answer to all of the mysteries, and all we have is just theories. Believe me, I will let you know about the ones that make the most sense, but still, don't quote me on any of them before we get to play the DLC. And also make sure to drop your own theories about the game in the comment section. I read every comment.
Every single one of them.
So, tell me again about the men in masks.
Zero finds himself in the therapy session. He has no idea how he got there, but goes along with the psychiatrist and tells him about tragedy and comedy. But he doesn't seem interested until he starts to get angry and insults Zero.
Get up.
Get the fuck up!
"28 years in that god-forsaken jungle. Killing soldiers wasn't so bad, I hardly remember it. But burning those villages, watching those naked peasants cry, I see it every day. It's not PTSD, it's the drug. It's only been a week, but it feels like a year. Every ward is getting longer. The mosquitoes are getting louder. When the drug runs out, time stops, and you're stuck in this jungle forever. It's grains of sand in a shrinking hourglass. I know what comes next. I need to ask you for a favor." We cut to 2 years in future where Zero is replaced by the hobo he meets earlier and asking him for some change, while tragedy and comedy stand next to him and make fun of his misery.
Your 1,000-yard stare does not instill me with confidence. I have increased your dosage to compensate for yesterday. Please, keep in mind everything we've spoken about today.
I know, it's very confusing, but don't worry. I'm here to make life a little bit easier. See, that's the thing about Katana-Zero. I don't want to reveal too much to ruin the game's climax. But if I don't say some stuff, you might just end up confused, so I'll make it simple. Zero didn't get his dose yesterday because the office was closed. He managed just fine at first, but eventually started hallucinating. He lost track of time and didn't realize how he got to the office today, and things just got worse and worse. He started to imagine we punching him into a mission where he didn't move much. He found himself walking in a cathedral with someone's dialogues in his head. There are so many theories about who is talking here, and I'll tell you all about it when the time is right. We jumped 2 years in the future where Zero hallucinated, ending up just like the hobo with tragedy and comedy mocking him, which I believe is Zero's fear of becoming like the hobo in future due to their similarities. After that, Zero saw himself killing the psychiatrist and the little girl, which again, I will explain, just give me some time.
Doc, please, there's still time. No, I can't. I still have 5 minutes. Please.
Once he got his dose, he snapped back to reality. It just shows whatever this drug is, it is so addictive that skipping a single day of dose can cause you to have these terrible hallucinations.
Al-Qasim, secretive founder and CEO of Neotech, a military logistics consultancy. Close ties to New Mecha government. Involved in military R&D. Likely lightly guarded, but proceed cautiously.
Zero's mission starts like every other day. He takes out the guards to get to Al-Qasim when he finds V standing in his way. I tried to keep V in as long as I could, but he will escape eventually anyways. On the last floor, Zero starts to execute his plan by jumping in and fight.
Get up! Get the fuck up!
V was smarter than you. He anticipated your approach and planted a bomb in one of the doors that you didn't see coming. Maybe he was a bigger threat than we thought. He taunts you for a while, then asks Mr. Kissyface to get rid of your body before shooting you.
Get up! Get the fuck up!
The conversation repeats again. You talk for a while and...
Get up! Get the fuck up!
Again, you're in the same place. You're stuck in a loop. Every time you learn something you shouldn't know, that buys you some more time. Until V says you're not here for Kronos, you're in on it. Which means the special drug Zero is taking is called Kronos. Someone in the shadows tries to speak but can't. It's Al-Qasim. Once again, V caught up to your target before you could. His anger gets the best of him, and he finishes Al-Qasim. Zero knows V is desperate for his approval, so he starts overwhelming him with disappointment. He tells him that his tape was garbage, and it's sad watching him beg for his approval. V breaks down under pressure and eventually leaves you to Mr. Kissyface. Outside, V is having a chat with Snow about how he killed Al-Qasim and Zero. Snow is impressed he managed to kill Zero because, quote-unquote, he was no ordinary Null. Add Null soldiers to the list of things I need to explain to not ruin the story. It's obvious these two have something going on more than just a professional partnership. They could be friends or even more. Chasing V is entirely on a bike, which is pretty cool. It reminds me of Cuphead's plane boss fights. It's just a shame that it's so short. You catch up with V in maybe a minute. This boss fight is the first fight of the game that's really challenging. It's got a phase where you need to dodge missiles, and another one where you're gonna dodge bullets. Eventually, V himself tries to take you down, which you can deflect his bullets to return fire. In his last moments, he mentions he has killed 6 of you Null soldiers, then claims to be the Dragon Slayer since Zero is the dragon.
He is not the dragon. I am. You've been difficult to find. I have questions.
This is the real dragon. His codename is 15, a swordsman who appears to be on the exact same drug and just as skilled, if not better than Zero. He is extremely fast, so fast that human eye cannot even see him move. His target doesn't seem to be Zero, since he could easily kill him but chose not to.
You missed your appointment this morning. I learned why when I turned on the news. Go directly home and prepare for tomorrow's assignment.
Despite that the psychiatrist asks Zero to go home directly, he stops by a bar to have a drink, which shows that Zero doesn't trust and listen to the psychiatrist as much as he used to at the beginning. He orders a drink and eavesdrops the conversation between the 2 other guys sitting behind the counter. They are war veterans talking about how they had the advantage and it doesn't make sense that they lost to Chromax. Zero joins in by telling them that he served too and shows them his service medal. They don't buy his story and think the medal is just a prop, because Zero would have been a kid when the war was going on. This could mean that either Zero didn't serve, or he was just a child when he did. Regardless, the vets let Zero join in anyways and pay for his drink. Throughout their conversation, they mentioned that they would have won the war if people in the first district weren't complaining about the child killings. Things start to make sense when they bring up the government combat drug program. New Mecha's government started a project to inject children who had potential with a special drug called Kronos to make a super soldier squad. These soldiers had the ability to see in the future, and this made them unstoppable. Obviously, Zero, 15, and maybe even Snow were part of this squad. It was impossible for New Mecha to lose the war with these super soldier squads, and the attacks were called off because of the complaints of New Mecha citizens about eliminating children. Zero was too drunk and lost track of time. He walks back to his house and before passing out, meets the little girl. He can't quite make out what she's telling him, so he decides to just ignore her and walk inside before passing out. It's the little girl, and she thinks you may be mad at her, which isn't true. Zero was just drunk. She mentions last night her dad's friends came over and she needed a place to hide, which has a lot of different meanings and all of them are terrifying. She hasn't eaten anything since last night, so Zero offers to make her something. I tried to find something she would want to eat, but apparently all Zero ever eats is protein paste and fish heads. Obviously she wouldn't eat any of them, so Zero just lets her stay and leaves for work.
Sit down. Now!
The psychiatrist is angry. He tells you that your mission was to kill Al-Qasim, not destroy the city. I told him that I didn't have a choice.
You didn't have a choice in the most egregious mass killing in New Mecca history? The media and the sensitivity of our work? Do you understand the discretion our mission demands?
You are in deep shit. Nothing about your last mission was discreet, which goes against the terms of your contract with your employers. It's V, with both of his hands cut off. He starts to tell Zero about the withdrawal. We already know that Zero, just like everyone else who took Chronos, needs the dose every day. If they don't take it, they start hallucinating. And if they push it, they will experience the withdrawal. Time will eventually come to a crawl for them and stops entirely. They can look dead to others, but in their own heads they will live for eternity, in their nightmares, just like what Zero's neighbors are experiencing right now. This conversation is not real. It's Zero in his head coming to the realization that his powers are not a gift, but a curse. He still thought that I am the dragon, so I told him about the real dragon. At first, he didn't believe me and thought I was mocking him, but then when I described how the real dragon looked like, he was shocked. He said that he knows someone who fits the profile. Zero's assignment was changed to killing the dragon today.
The dragon, target of interest, considered extremely skilled and dangerous, connected with the murder of several government employees, last seen in high-profile Chinatown casino.
Zero arrives at the casino and tries to get in the VIP section, but the guard tells him that he needs 100,000 chips. I don't know why he doesn't just kill him. The mission briefing didn't say that you can't kill others. Instead, he starts to gamble to make the chips. So all this time, Zero could have used his powers to win $1 godzillion and he chose to live in that dump? Time to gamble, baby!
I'll clean it all up.
Eventually, Zero makes enough chips and gets in the VIP section.
But how did the Russian know about Null?
He was a fool, but whoever he worked for isn't, and they're trying to bring back Chronos. That's why I'm here. I'm so close. I know I am, but I need your help. This is our chance for revenge.
The war ended 7 years ago. I'm too tired for revenge. And with Al-Qasim gone, the Chronos, I don't have much time.
For taking away our lives, for making us monsters, for making us fight their wars and purging us when they were done. We don't have much time, but I'm so close. I want you to see something.
Get out of here. I'll handle this.
Right.
Whoever you are, you just made a huge mistake.
Yes, that should work.
What the hell? You were dead? This isn't over.
The soldier you just saw goes by the codename Headhunter. Not much is known about her, except that she's also a super soldier. She used to work as an assassin for Al-Qasim in exchange for Chronos before he was killed by V, similar to how Zero works for his employers. On the desk, you'll find the prison security tapes that were missing when Zero was trying to kill Fai-Yuan. The police are here, but Zero's mission to kill the dragon still stands. They keep sending in more and more squads, but they can't stop him. You know, the police in video games are probably the most useless forces I've ever seen. Like, can you name a single time when... Oh. The time has come. The stars indicate that Zero has to die. Right now, right here. Tragedy and Comedy warn Zero about this upcoming choice, and they are here to make him choose between life or death. He can choose to die by embodying life. His own life will end here, but he won't spill any more blood. Others will be safe from his killings, given how reliable his life is on Kronos and the terrible fate he will go through if he ever runs out of it. Maybe it's a smart choice to end it here while he can and go out on his own terms. Or he can choose to live by embodying death. He will walk out of here unharmed and continue killing, bringing death to others, including the ones he cares about. He might miss his only chance to die peacefully, but he will live to uncover the truth behind everything. If you choose death, Zero dies and the game ends.
Oh no, this can't be.
It's not even a joke, it just does. I thought they were gonna pull an Arkham City on us, like,
oh, I chose to leave, Batman, haha, bad ending.
Nope, you have to save him. But no, the game just ends right there. You can choose death and end your story right here. But if you choose to live, Tragedy and Comedy stay true to their words and kill the entire squad for you to walk out of there unharmed.
The favors I've had to call in, the phone calls I've had to make to ensure that media wouldn't hear about your latest killing spree. An entire police squad is dead for nothing, for absolutely f***ing nothing. I can no longer excuse your egregious behavior and failures. There will be dire consequences for tonight.
Zero returns home and notices that the little girl has cleaned the place. She asks to watch the prison tape Zero brought back. No, last time I let you watch a tape for me it was f***ing live leak. So instead, she asks for them to go pick up a movie to watch, and I thought, why not? So we arrived at the VHS store, and Zero, being the good fella he is, thought it's okay for a child to watch other samurais cutting off each other's heads. So they end up watching a samurai movie. The two bond a little more over the movie, where she gets scared and Zero tells her that he will protect her from bad guys. The girl is asleep. Zero decides to watch the prison tape before she wakes up. Everything seems normal. The guards are talking about how Fa-Yun is going to testify against the government for using Kronos. We take control of 15, and this is easily the best part of the game. You can slash through the enemies in one click, which Zero couldn't do. It's like a power trip where the game is like, oh, you want to kill everyone, don't you? Yes, you want to kill everyone. This is what happened before Zero got to Fa-Yun. 15 eventually gets to his cell and starts interrogating him to find out who's bringing back Kronos. Every name Fa-Yun mentions have been a target of Zero, like Josh Rose and Al-Qasim. He does mention one new name, Leon 1 Alvin's Lieben. 15 got the name he came for and kills Fa-Yun as part of his revenge plan. Zero goes to his therapy session as usual when suddenly he gets a phone call from 15.
Leon von Alvensleben, 3rd District Slaughterhouse and Meat Processing. Your questions will be answered.
Zero decides to ditch the therapy and head to the slaughterhouse. 15 could visit this place himself, but he chose to send Zero instead. He's trying to gather as many super soldiers as he can to join his revenge quest, and he knows that Zero will find something there that could make him join 15. On surface, this is just a slaughterhouse, nothing special, until you reach the first monitor.
It has been a while since I have had a visitor. I am quite thrilled. This sorry facility was once the testing ground for the Null project. New Mecha's most promising soldiers were run through my gauntlet to ascertain their suitability. Let us see how suitable you are. Interesting. Proceed.
The man on the monitor is Leon von Alvensleben, the scientist who created Kronos and the Null Project. Leon is a calm and calculating man that prepares for every possible contingency. His right arm is missing and he's a professional with a sniper, which shows his combat experience. Look, I'm just gonna come out and say it, this man does not look like a scientist. I don't know what is it with video games showing scientists as these extremely hot men. Like, bro, this is not what they look like. Throughout the slaughterhouse, Leon will put you through many tests, like going through hordes of enemies, or dodging press machines that exist in a slaughterhouse for some reason. Do they press meat here? At the same time, he also shoots you with a sniper. His goal is to calculate your chances of survival. If you beat his tests, he congratulates you and tells you that the odds of surviving the test for alpha nulls is 7%, for beta nulls it's 13%, and for gamma nulls it's 100%. The Null Project that everyone was talking about is the project that created the super soldiers. Zero is a gamma null, the strongest type of the super soldiers, which explains how he managed to beat V, since V killed multiple null soldiers before. They must have been either alpha or beta nulls. The Null Project was ultimately a failure, and Zero, just like the rest of his kind, shouldn't exist. Leon asks Zero to leave and tells him if he keeps going, he will die. Okay. In the bathroom, you'll find a bunch of tapes connected to the monitor, and Leon in a cryo chamber. The messages you were seeing weren't live. There are also tapes for other characters here. Leon was expecting a lot of people to visit him. Zero opens the chamber and Leon falls out. Whatever his disease was, Leon froze himself until a cure was discovered for it, which doesn't matter anymore. Now that we are done with this level, you should know that we could have skipped most of it. You see these sensors on top? The game doesn't tell you, but if you roll dodge under them, they won't detect you and won't play the tapes. This also means that Zero could learn nothing from going to the slaughterhouse, and 15 literally calls him to say, "Bro, what the f***, I sent you there to talk to Leon, why did you keep skipping everything?"
Where the hell are you? Why didn't you come in today? You killed an entire police squad last night. Do you understand the jeopardy your erratic behavior is putting us in? What the hell are you doing?
Hello! Welcome back! I found something cool today. Wanna see? Come on, let's go! Right up here! It just goes so far. I wonder that behind the mountains. You can't see all the muck and trash up here. Just the lights. It's pretty. I want to see it all someday. What?
We're going somewhere better, somewhere far away.
Like the second district?
Farther.
Okay. Hey, what's that?
It's from the war, a medal.
Wow, you were in a war? That means you're a hero. You need to clean it though. It's really dirty.
I haven't taken it off in 7 years. It reminds me that no matter what I'm doing, I did something good once.
What? Why did you do that?
I have other reminders now.
Oh. Can we stay up here a little longer? I'm pretty sleepy, but I don't want the men in the masks to come back.
Zero must have fallen asleep last night when they came back. The girl made a soup for him out of whatever was in the fridge, so let's see how fish heads and protein paste soup tastes like. It tastes like absolute shit, but I pretended I liked it. She then lets Zero borrow Behemoth for a while because then he will never be lonely.
Please, come in and take a seat.
The psychiatrist is very angry because Zero has been avoiding his missions. But today, Zero isn't here to listen to his bullshit. He's here to get answers. I told him I know I was a null soldier, and I met Leon, which changed the dynamic. Zero is the one asking the questions now. He admits everything, that there were no records of Zero's life before war. They assume he was a normal child with an ordinary family. He was placed in the Gamma Null program to become one of the most elite super soldiers. Kronos ultimately failed, because no one expected the terrible effects of the withdrawal. Everyone Zero fought, Electrohead, Fayoun, Al-Qasim, V, Snow 15, Headhunter, and Leon are all related to Kronos. Zero was hired by the government of New Mecha to silence the creators of Kronos and stop it from ever coming back. Which means Kronos will eventually run out and Zero will go through the withdrawal himself. The psychiatrist assures him that there is enough Kronos left for him as long as he complies. I asked him why he kept this from me, which he responded by saying his job is to rehabilitate me and eliminate Kronos, with my past being irrelevant.
Bunker. Eliminate any and all sensitive material currently stored in the safe room of Al-Qasim's bunker, located in the center of the synergistic research. Expect heavy resistance. Leave no survivors.
Zero goes to Al-Qasim's bunker to destroy any remaining war drugs, and guess who's working there?
Welcome to the Center for Synergetic Research. Are you here for... I remember you. You are that cosplayer. I looked up the anime you talked about, but couldn't find it.
Since we were nice to her earlier, she's excited to see Zero. She's even caught feelings for him.
Oh, well. Maybe we could watch it together sometime. I love anime.
Anime is a path I walk alone. But anime was indeed a path Zero walked alone, and they never got to cuddle and watch it together. The bunker is the game's last endurance test. You have to face everything you fought so far. Unarmed enemies, officers with guns, machine guns, lasers. There's even a room that you have to go through a bunch of... Zero wakes up from his nightmare and goes on with his mission. This is the only time you find a gun in the game, and I was like, wow, a gun? Do I get to shoot people? But no, it's just a throwable. Nice. Deep down in the bunker, you meet the headhunter again.
Oh, you've arrived. I was hoping we'd be able to finish what we started. This shouldn't be fun.
The first phase of the fight is not that challenging, you just have to kill her henchmen while dodging her lasers until she gets fed up.
You're a Gamma, aren't you? Just like 15. I thought 15 and I were the last null left. Al-Qasim paid me in Kronos to kill people. That's why you are here, right? There's none here. I don't know where Al-Qasim kept his, but it's not here. There's almost none left. Certainly not enough for both of us. It's almost gone. The Null project is over. If the government still has any, they certainly won't give it to us. The rotten afterbirth of a miscarried war. Maybe there's enough for one person, but not both of us. But maybe there's enough Kronos in your bloodstream to slow down the withdrawal.
people who did this to us. For me.
With Headhunter dead, Zero uses her eyes to open the vault door and kill Al-Qasim's family, his wife, and children. Throughout their conversation, they mentioned that they would have won the war if people in the first district weren't complaining about the child killings.
What are you doing? Your targets are still alive! What the hell have you done?
Zero abandons his mission entirely and returns to the therapy office. The psychiatrist is screwed. He was responsible for making sure Zero accomplishes his missions, and now he has failed way too many times. He's planning to go into hiding, though it may be too late, since he already can't reach his daughter. Zero confronts him about everything. His nightmares were real, and the psychiatrist knew it. His attitude changes entirely. He dodges Zero's questions and tells him to leave before calling him a junkie. But Zero is way past caring about what he wants. He tries to negotiate with Zero, but it doesn't work.
You're f***ing subhuman.
On his body, you find the government lab keycard that gives you access to the Blade's arsenal, and this door that leads to the DLC and won't f***ing open. On the disk, you find a paper with details of Chronos delivery to his lab, which is where Zero needs to go now for more Chronos. Next to the paper, there's a dossier. He wasn't bluffing when he told Zero he will replace him if he doesn't comply. Someone was supposed to arrive after Zero to get this dossier, but Zero doesn't stay for long to find out who. There is an alternative version of this therapy session where you get to fight the secret boss. If you were a jerk to the psychiatrist the entire game, and I mean the entire game, he will be fed up with Zero's bullshit and actually fight back. He tells Zero that Chronos wasn't the only drug that the government developed, and then turns into this abomination. Justin says that this boss fight is not canon, but the drug the psychiatrist uses is. So the government created another drug that would turn you into this sack of meat that shoots happy juice? No, but I think I have an idea of what's going on. This thing is not real. This new drug works similar to a Scarecrow's fear toxin. It makes you face your fears and weaknesses. In the first phase, Zero fights giant hands trying to take away his free will, just like how the Null program turned him into a killing machine and took away his free will to live the life he wants. In the second phase, he fights this giant monster that shoots needles. The monster itself is resembling the horrifying nature of those who turn Zero into their puppet. The only part of it that doesn't fight you is the baby biting on the monster itself, which resembles Zero's innocence fighting back against them. The needles obviously resemble Chronos, and by fighting back, Zero's mentality is trying to break free from his addiction. Since the drug is canon, this could also mean that there are even more drugs that we just haven't seen yet. Maybe Leon wasn't sick. He could have injected himself with one of the war drugs that made him age rapidly, and he froze himself to not die. We might get to see more of those drugs in the DLC. Zero returns home and finds out that his room and the room of the little girl have both been broken into. The girl was staying in his house. Zero rushes in and finds a note from Tragedy.
One life for another.
He runs out and asks the cops and the landlord about the girl, but they tell him that no little girl lives here. The landlord says she makes sure no children live in her apartment. Zero doesn't believe them and demands they tell him where the girl is, which makes the cops hostile and start shooting at Zero, but they miss. One of the cops tells the other one that Zero fits the profile of whoever broken in, so it has to be another swordsman who did it. Could it be 15? Or maybe even Snow?
Acknowledged. 015. Return to base. If anyone gets in your way, you know what to do.
I did not see this twist coming, and if you say you did, you're just lying, man. Come on, that doesn't make you cool. Zero was never the child in his nightmare. He was the soldier who shot the scientist. He found the Leviathan toy in the house. He knew there was a child in that house and he could kill him, but chose to turn a blind eye. But we aren't done yet. After the credits end, we see Snow talking to her mysterious employer.
V is dead. It was a null survivor. Gamma 15, sir.
I see. Then we will soon need to wage open war with the government.
We get to see 15 looking at a board after beating V to death to get information out of him.
Watch how she squirms, tragedy.
And for naught, dear comedy, O woe upon woes, what baleful individual.
Let's make it fun.
This ending answers a lot of our questions, and I think we can make a timeline of everything that's going on in Katana-Zero based on theories that at least make the most sense. Again, I should say that, actually let me just put up a disclaimer. The information I'm going to present to you is based on theories that the community, including myself, managed to come up with based on everything the game has shown us so far. A huge part of it will most likely turn out to be false once the DLC comes out. So in case they were, don't think I'm spreading misinformation here. Years ago, the government of New Mecha attacked the Chromac forces. The reason behind their decision was that they believed Chromacs to be subhuman. Throughout the war, the government of New Mecha started Project Null in an unsuspecting slaughterhouse in the 3rd district. Led by the scientist Leon von Alvensleben, the goal of Project Null was to manufacture special drugs which could create super soldiers. One of the drugs developed in the project was called Chronos. This blue liquid would give its users the precognition of time, meaning they could foresee as many possible futures as they want, until they find one that fits their purpose. Chronos was experimented on many involuntary test subjects, most of which were children. Obviously, this project violated human rights and was kept hidden from the public. The majority of the test subjects didn't make it, but those who did were put through a special test designed by Leon himself to test their odds of survival in a combat situation. The test classified the Null soldiers in 3 different ranks. Alpha Nulls were the weakest, their survival chances were only 7%. Beta Nulls were stronger with a chance of 13%, and Gamma Nulls were the strongest with a chance of 100%. Amongst these super soldiers were 0, 15, Headhunter, and maybe Snow. We can't be sure about Snow because she never mentions the war or uses her precognition powers. With the Null soldiers, victory was guaranteed for New Mecha. Nothing could get in their away, even children. During one of their missions to burn down a Cro-Max village, Zero deviated from his instruction. He shot a scientist and then found a Leviathan toy on the ground. He knew there was a child in that house, but chose to spare him and took the toy with him as a reminder of his good deed. Over time, New Mecha's government was put in a tight situation. Word eventually got out about the elimination of children in New Mecha, and the First District citizens protested against the war. At the same time, people behind the Null project discovered the effects of the withdrawal. Every Null soldier needed at least one dose of Chronos every day to live and stay sane. If they didn't get the dose, time would eventually slow down and stop for them entirely. They would live in their nightmares forever. They can appear dead to others, but in their own heads, they will live for eternity. New Mecha's government had no choice but to pool their soldiers and stop the attack. With the war ending, the Null project was also shut down, meaning there will still be Null soldiers left from the war, but no more Chronos. The leftover soldiers from the war, as we know now, are Zero, 15, Headhunter, and possibly Snow. Each of them found a new purpose. 15 was a Gamma Null. He started hunting down everyone behind the Null project to take revenge for making him a killing machine reliant on a drug against his own will. Headhunter was a Beta Null. We know this because Zero could defeat her. She started to work for Al-Qasim, who was a financial backer of the Null project, in exchange for Chronos out of desperation. Snow's motivations are unknown. All we know is that she, alongside her partner or maybe even lover V, started working for someone who wants to bring Chronos back and fight with New Mecha's government. Given that V mentions he killed Null soldiers before while working for this mysterious guy, his plans will most likely not turn out to be in Null survivors' favor. Zero was a Gamma Null like 15. It's worth mentioning that their numerical names could be their number code as a Gamma Null during the war. Zero got injured during the war and lost his memory. Since he remembers nothing, he was a perfect candidate for New Mecha's government to use in order to silence everyone related to Chronos to stop the word about it from getting out. The government assigned a psychiatrist to be their connection with Zero. His mission was to keep an eye on Zero and make sure he follows their instructions without figuring out who he was and what happened to him. His missions often had targets in common with 15's, but their goals for doing it obviously weren't the same. Zero's memory of that specific mission started to come back over time in his dreams, which the psychiatrist, who knew the truth, shrugged off by saying it's just a nightmare that happens as a side effect of Zero's injury. Zero eventually developed an imaginary friend, the little girl. She was the embodiment of innocence. She could never see the bad in anything, as a child would. The little girl was meant to represent Zero's innocence and portray his pure heart, because deep down, Zero believed himself to be a good person. She gives Zero a reason to keep going and makes him do stuff that he believes to actually be done by the little girl, like cleaning the house. Zero kept the Leviathan toy in his apartment all this time. He doesn't remember it due to his memory loss, but his good conscience, the little girl, is there to remind him. She holds Behemoth, another toy that is the pair of Leviathan, which signifies the connection of Zero's purity with the Leviathan toy, or to be more precise, to the fact that he spared a child. Zero's bond with the little girl grows stronger over time, and eventually he throws away his service medal, which he used to believe is a reminder of his good deeds to fight for his country, because now he believes the little girl or his purity is the reminder of that good deed, not the medal. Zero's targets were all in a way connected to Chronos. Josh Rose, involved in the movement of war drugs, Electrohead, a popular drug dealer with access to Chronos, Fa Yun, a political dissident scheduled to testify in a military tribunal, Omar Al-Qasim, one of the backers of the Null project. Obviously, all of them had to go before they slip up and reveal everything about Chronos. At first, Zero was compliant. He didn't know the truth and just did what he had to for his dose of Chronos, but eventually he got tangled up with people he wasn't supposed to, like V, 15, and Headhunter, who didn't lose their memory like Zero. Their words and actions made him open his eyes. 15 was in the search of allies for his quest. He tried to convince the Headhunter to join him, which she refused, so now he sent Zero to the slaughterhouse so that it might convince him to join 15. Zero eventually meets Tragedy and Comedy, two figures that after countless hours of research I only managed to come up with one theory for. Tragedy and Comedy are both resembling different perspectives of Zero's life. His tragic backstory and actions, which includes killing lots of innocent people, and his comedic belief that he's a good person, which Zero Zero isn't because of his actions during the war. These two are not real. Their actions are either in Zero's head, like the note he finds, or resemble Zero's own doing, like killing the cops in Chinatown. They both wear a science lab coat which resembles the scientist he shot during that specific mission to make him reflect on his actions. It was tragic how he killed countless innocent people, and whenever he's going to do something tragic, tragedy is next to him. It's comedic how he believes to be a good person, and whenever Zero faces this reality, comedy is next to him. Zero knew what was coming. He had to make a choice between life or death. He talked about how he can never get over what happened in the past, and asked the players, the ones controlling him, for a favor, to let him die when the time is right and spare him from discovering that he's not a good person. Tragedy offered him the mask of life. He could choose to die and end his tragic life but spare others from experiencing tragedy, and comedy offered him the mask of death. He could live and keep this comedic show of him thinking he's innocent going. If Zero chooses to live, he will keep searching for the truth while believing himself to be a good person, until his last assignment to kill everyone in Al-Qasim's bunker. He finds the last target in the vault, Al-Qasim's family, his wife and children. The reality finally sets in. Zero realizes that even though he spared that child, he had taken the lives of many other innocent civilians, including children. Where we see comedy, who has finally managed to make Zero see the truth. Zero realizes that his nightmare was real and confronts the psychiatrist. Before he finishes him, the psychiatrist tells him that he's subhuman, another reflection on Zero's actions in the past. Zero returns home to find out that the little girl was taken away by tragedy and comedy, which is the consequence of his choice to live and embody death. He lived long enough to find out that he's not as pure as he thought he was, and because of this realization, his innocence was taken away. So, what now? Well, for now, that's as far as we can go. I'll make a second video on Katana-Zero if the DLC does answer our questions, but until then, we can do some other stuff while we wait for the DLC, like read a book, or get a job, maybe get a head start on your taxes, or just saying, you can watch the rest of my awesome videos. I guarantee it is the best way to waste your time. Oh, my back hurts. I'm just gonna go lay down until the DLC drops. Wake me up when it did, okay? Bye bye.